to be here. I just live over the hill in Pacific Grove, so I'm very familiar with Carmel. I've been here about 15 years, so I know how special this place is. It's, you know, the place my wife and I love to go to and be at when we have time to spare on the weekends, in normal times anyway. So I'm very excited to be part of the team that gets to help protect this place because it's so cool.
Yeah, the whole peninsula is nice. Pacific Grove's great too.
Yeah, we're real happy there.
Yeah, I bet. That's nice. Good. I'm glad you don't have a long commute.
Yeah, no kidding. I was coming from Monterey County, so I was working at the county for the last several years, and so I was looking at like a 45-minute, 55-minute commute every day. So now 10 minutes is much better.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Carol. Catherine.
We're still waiting on what? Jordan and Thomas? No, Eric. And Thomas.
Jordan won't be joining us today. He's out of town.
Who's that?
Jordan.
Okay.
Brandon, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Hi, Eric.
Hello. We have Thomas.
Nope, not yet.
The star is not here.
Hi, Catherine.
Good to see you, Carol.
Same here.
Hello. Hi, Eric.
Hey there. Hey, Catherine. Nice to see you.
Hi.
All right.
Here's Thomas.
And there's Michael.
Thomas, you're muted.
One, two, three. Looks like we're all here.
Yes.
Good. Well, if you'll bear with me, this is my first HRB meeting after our omnipotent leader, Eric, decided to step off the dais. So bear with me. Eric, I will say this. I've only been on the board 4 years, and I've always appreciated Eric's professionalism and thoroughness and objectivity. And I hope to do as close a good a job as he does with a little practice. So good afternoon, everybody. I don't have a gavel, so I use my fist. Opening this meeting of Historic Resources Board for Monday, January 25th. Margie, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Eric Dyer.
Here.
Eric Dyer's muted, but I see him. Catherine Galtieri.
Here.
Carol Hall.
Here.
And Thomas Hood.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Staff, any specific announcements before we get into this?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to take a moment to announce the arrival of our new Community Planning and Building Director, Brandon Swanson. He's joining us today for the first time, so just wanted to do a formal introduction and just give him a chance to say a few words.
Thanks, Marnie. Hi, everybody. Brandon Swanson, joining you from having spent the last several years with the County of Monterey as Chief of Planning and Planning Manager there. I actually told a few of you already, I just live across the hill in Pacific Grove. I've been there for 15 plus years, so I'm really familiar with Carmel-by-the-Sea and love it. It's a magical place. I think that's the exact word that I used in my interview for this job, because I really do think it's a pretty special place to be. I'm excited to be joining the team. You know, Marnie's done an excellent job over the last year, keeping the department headed in the right direction. And I'm really excited to work with her and learn from her, stepping into this job. And, you know, I wish this was normal times, as we all do, because I'd love to meet you all in person, shake your hands and get to know you. But we'll get to know each other, both over this medium for the short term. But then once we're all back to normal, I'll be excited to be out on site visits with you and grab a coffee or whatever we need to do to get to know each other and work together. So I'm excited to be here, and thanks. So if you ever have any questions for me or want to have a little meeting, I'm going to be sending out some Google meeting invites for all of us to eventually meet one-on-one to get to know each other and kind of understand your goals for the planning department and the HRB and how we can work together. So keep an eye out for that. I'll send you an email so we can have a little one-on-one chat here in the near future.
Brandon, I'll say through the grapevine, when I heard about your coming on board, one person who knows you quite well just said, well, the county's loss is Carmel's gain, so welcome aboard.
Thank you, Thomas. That's a nice thing to say.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
All right. Public appearances. If there's anyone wishing to address the board on matters not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the board, if you're out there in the ether, please do so now. Okay, sounds barring none. We're on to consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are routine in nature for those listening out there and do not require discussion or independent action. Members of the board or public may ask that any items be considered individually for the purpose of board discussion and or for public comment. Unless that's done, one motion may be used to adopt all recommended actions. The only item we have on the agenda are the meeting minutes of the December 21st, 2020 meeting. I'll open this up to the board for any comments or questions or corrections. Crickets, hearing none. May I hear a motion for approval of the December 21st minutes?
I move to approve the December 21st minutes.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I don't know if Margie needs to roll our names off. We all know each other. Okay. The December 21st minutes are therefore adopted into the permanent record. We'll move on to our first and only order of business today, which is the World War I Memorial Arch, Ballard's chain and lighting application. Staff, would you like to make us a presentation for them?
I sure do. Unless Marnie wanted to have an opening remark, we can go right into the presentation.
Let's just dive right in.
Okay. I will be sharing my screen. I'm Bob Harari. I'm the Public Works Director. I think you know most of me. Most of you know me.
Thank you for being here today, Bob.
My pleasure. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the World War I Memorial Arch. There's three proposed changes to it. It's Ballard's, a chain and lighting. And my understanding is that you were all out at the site visit a little while ago. Now here's a photo of it. This is from westbound Ocean Avenue looking west. This is a historic resource. It was restored in 2019, 2020 by the Friends of the World War I Arch. And the proposed work is a post and chain to prevent climbing, lighting for enhancement, and bollards, which protects traffic from hitting it. At this location where we see the photo, there used to be two trees between the tree on the left and the monument. So the Forest and Beach Commission did approve us to remove those trees. So less water is dripping onto the monument. You can also see here, oh, let's use my mouse. this landing on the east side of the monument, this was kind of buried in the past. Now it's exposed, and it's kind of an attraction for people to potentially go up on the steps or stand up here and play with the bell or whatever. So that's something we need to address. Okay, we're going to start with the easy things and work our way up. The easiest thing is the proposed posts and the chain to prevent people from climbing up. This rendering shows 7 posts and a chain that goes through the eye loops. I call them eyeball loops for some reason in your staff report, but they're eye loops. We suggested like up to 9, depending on exact arrangement of those posts. So anyway, that's something that's recommended by the Friends of the World War I Memorial Arch and supported by staff. The next is to change the existing lighting which is uplighting, to LED uplighting, and the Kitchler product that's shown on the left would match the uplights that we have now throughout the Ocean Avenue medians. If you recall, about 1.5 years ago, we installed, it was well over 100 of those lights. So now all the lights and fixtures would match. So, and staff is also recommending that this go forward. Last is the bollards, and this is the one that takes us a little bit of head scratching. On the left-hand side on the top, you can see that on the westbound lane, even though it's a stop sign, apparently a car or a truck or something hit this location here in this corner. Somebody hit oops, sorry. Come on, nope. I don't know why it does that tool thing. Anyway, someone hit this particular corner as well. You can see that on the right, the new stonework that was put in on the corners. It seems like the corners are the items that seem to be getting hit the most. The applicant is proposing 3 bollards. That would be 3-inch diameter steel pipes buried 2 feet in the ground with encased in concrete, and up to 24 inches on one side and up to 42 inches tall on the other. So here's 1, 2, 3. It looks simple enough. My concern is that this is an AC berm, or it's actually rock, or rock berm. That's used for drainage. If we were to install these bollards, then this rock edge would likely come out, and this would be right up against the side of the monument, but also very close to where cars come. This is really the bigger problem, though. This is looking eastbound across from San Carlos. The applicant is proposing to put bollards right here. Now this, from the edge of the bollard to the center line, would be 10 feet, which is the minimum required for a lane. So it's not like we're violating the traffic code per se, but my concern is that if we have a parklet instead of these cars for a restaurant, or if we have a truck parked here and we have 2 lanes of traffic and it's dark and it's let's say it's dark, it's raining, it's even with reflectors on this bollard, it's going to be hard to miss. So what we don't want to do is protect the monument, but then a whole bunch of cars start hitting the bollard, and then the city has a liability. So this was kind of the biggest concern we had, is to not put bollards on the south side of the monument, even though it would mostly work out fine on the north side. What we're proposing is that the applicant install either 2 or possibly 4 bollards on the west side in the corners. So example, here's one, this would be one. We'd still have the full length, the full width of this travel lane that we do today. This would still protect the corner, and mostly protecting the corners would help cars making turn movements. So if you're on San Carlos southbound and you're going east on Ocean, you would try to miss this obstacle, which would have a reflective tape on it. And if this this truck wanted to turn left into southbound San Carlos, it would see this this bollard and try to avoid that. So we're thinking, even if it's 2 or 1 bollards on the west side, perfectly fine. We think it still provides the purpose of protecting the corners of the monument. There's also an existing, as you saw today, the railing with some posts here. This is not the same, say the same strength as the bollards would be on the sides, but it obviously somebody was thinking about cars hitting the monument in years past and put this device up, which apparently it has been working to some extent. But again, it's really the corners of the monuments that we're most concerned about. And with that, we as staff was recommending that the HRB recommend over to the Planning Commission that you approve the installation of the posts and chain across the east side of the Memorial Arch, up to 9 posts. Approve the new uplighting on the north and south sides of the Memorial Arch, and deny the applicant's recommended placement of the bollards on the north and south side of the monument. However, approve the placement of up to 4 bollards on the west side of the Memorial Arch, and to be able to protect the corners. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
When you said up to 4 on the west side, you were showing 2, 1 at each corner. Were you proposing 2 in the middle as well, or?
Just wanted to, same idea as the posts on the east side, up to 9. Once we're actually installing, that decision can be made that day. So I did show 2 on the rendering. If the applicant wants to go up to 4, I think that's also fine. I'm just trying to get some flexibility for when they get out there and start doing the installations.
Is there a distance off the edge of the monument that you would recommend? We know if you hit a bollard 2 feet into the ground, they're gonna rotate, they're gonna bend over. They're gonna tip towards the monument. Are you recommending a minimum distance they be away from the monument if they're hit?
Well, we're not recommending them to be on the sides of the monument, which is because they would be hit. On the west side, I think we have a lot of flexibility. There's a crosswalk there. As long as we're out of the crosswalk, I think there's plenty of room. So we're just wanting to be able to install the bollards without hitting any utilities and keeping it at least a small gap away from the edge of the monument. I think it was, Mr. LePage is here, I think it was 3 inches away. But we're trying to keep it tucked into as close to the monument as reasonably possible.
So your recommendation, there would be no bollard placed on the northeast corner. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other measure that you can see to protect that, since that was one place that was hit at least once?
I did talk to the police chief about this very topic, as well as the applicant a few times. We kind of went back and forth on this. Those bollards are going to be there for a heck of a long time, as will the monument. We are very concerned about putting bollards next to a travel lane where cars are passing by. On the west side, cars are not passing by. People are passing by in the crosswalk, but there's no cars, and it would be a good deterrent to miss the corners. So it's not that we don't want to not protect the northeast corner, which has been hit. It's just that we don't want the liability of having bollards there indefinitely. And cars getting scratched and complaining about it.
Last question then for me. I think you mentioned that these bollards would have some sort of reflective tape.
Correct.
Something on them. Was the idea explored of a bollard actually being inside of that little stone wall, so that at night it wouldn't necessarily protect the corner of the stone monument, but it would draw attention to the fact that there is a barrier there? Does that make any sense? To put it just in other words, we would line up with the edge of the monument a couple of feet away, just to alert them that that's approaching.
I could go back to the photos. Maybe that would help. Take a look.
Okay. Any other questions from board members?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Derek.
I just had a question about, I guess, general liability, because I think as drivers, we're all aware that, if you hit somebody, it's generally your fault and your liability. And I guess as long as you maintain, a 10-foot space, I guess my concern is, or question is just how liable is the city actually? I mean, if we put a bollard, obviously allowing a car to pass with a reasonable distance, but I guess I don't quite understand where the line is between where it's the city's fault and could be liable for something and when it's basically bad driving on the driver's fault.
We, the city, have to provide a 10-foot minimum travel lane on a collector or a major collector that is Ocean Avenue. We can still maintain that requirement. So it's really more of a, call it a safety decision or a business decision to not put bollards so close to the edge because it's a busy intersection. There could be cars, there could be 2 lanes of travel. It could be dark. It could be there's no street lights per se. So it's just we're just trying to be as safe as possible. But we do meet the criteria according to the traffic code.
Okay, thank you.
I have a rather radical question. What if we didn't do anything and just repaired the edges of the monument as they're hit with the money from the insurance company, from the people who ran into it?
I'll take a stab at it. I see Mr. LePage here. I see the wheels turning in his head as well. This was a tough job. Just finding the correct stone was about a year unto itself. Each stone had to be custom cut and textured and fit. It's not like a wall of bricks. It was a complicated stone restoration project. So even if, yes, we could go after the insurance companies, which is a process unto itself, but we could collect the money, we could hand it over to the Friends of the Arch. But we're trying not to replace any stone for as long as possible. Yes, someday they'll have to do it again, but hopefully we minimize the amount of stone that gets damaged.
Okay. Reflective posts, as you know, are not very attractive or Carmel-like. That's one concern. So.
I'm thinking it would just be maybe a stripe or 2 of protective tape. If it's 42 inches out of the ground, the whole thing's not going to be protective tape. There might be like 2 bands or 3 bands.
Okay, that would help. Yeah.
And last, Michael LePage is part of the team that's the applicant. Well, it's up to the chair, but if you would like, I'm sure he can make a couple of comments as well.
Thomas, you're muted.
Michael and Ian, thank you both for attending today. Public hearing is still open. Please make any comments you wish to make.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I want to share my screen just so that I can explain some things. As they say, one picture is worth 1,000 words. And I'll try not to say 1,000 words. I don't know, I haven't done this before, so bear with me. Let's see, I gotta select. Select entire screen. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, first off, there's what happened there? There we go. That's a nice painting that Kelly Steele did of the monument recently after the restoration. There's the scaffolding. That's kind of interesting. He actually did a painting with the scaffolding while we were working. Okay, let me get to the stones here. What I wanted to talk about is the type of damage that the monument has been subject to. So this is the south side. Now on the south side, it's exactly 10 feet from the monument to the edge of the lane marker. So we have, as I understand it, we're required to maintain that 10-foot distance. So there's no bollards proposed to be along this side. the type of damage that has happened to it, in large this, is it was scraping, where cars have scraped up against it. So you kind of see these, this was before we did the restoration work. So you can sort of see these scraped lines here. Now we just replaced the stones up at the top here. We didn't get down into these base stones. What Brian was able to do was to grind these stones down, and then he retextured them with a special masonry chisel that he made. That's a serrated chisel that matched the original serrations that were applied to the stones. So vehicles have impacted the corners. Now, you know, on the southbound lane, the vehicles are traveling from east to west. So this is a corner that could be subject to impacts, and there was some evidence of impacts. And then, of course, this was scraped. That's the plan. Let me get over here. Oh, come on. I had a picture of the north side, if I can find it. Yeah, I mean, can't find it. Maybe I can show you with this one. Yeah, I don't have that picture with me. This is after it's restored. But as Bob said, there were some impacts on the corners. You can see we replaced the stones. We did it here, replaced the stones from impact. And then there was also scraping. So let me get the plans up here. Get the plans up. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay, so this was what's proposed on the plan. You can see one of the stones here that was damaged from the impact. So on the south side here, after I spoke with Bob initially, because originally we had proposed 3 bollards along this side, but once we understood that you need to maintain that 10-foot lane distance, Bob suggested, and I agree with him, that we move these bollards back around the corner, because the median wall kind of curves back there. You can see it. And so this bollard, the idea here, what I'm trying to show is the bollard would be placed back along there out of the 10-foot, and it would protect that corner. Now, the traffic travels, like I said, from east to west. So realistically, we really don't need this one out here because the traffic doesn't come at it that way. So we would be open to eliminating that. So let's talk about the north side. So on the north side here, you see this little wall that Bob referred to. That's a little river rock boulder wall. And it's river rocks, which are about 6, 7, 8 inches in diameter, and then they're mortared together. So what we're proposing here, now on this side, there's more room. To the base of the monument, it's about 10-foot 4.5 inches from the inside edge of the median marker. So there's 4.5 inches there to still maintain the 10-foot. So the idea was to take out one of the rocks, and then where a bollard would be, and then put the bollard in, and then it would be mortared back in to match the mortar pattern with these two. And then out here, this one would protect the corner. The stone curb doesn't extend any further there that's the existing stone curb there. And this side, there was impacts. That's why we replaced these stones on both sides, here. And then there was a lot of scraping here on some of the stones from cars. Kind of, I guess they rode up and over this little curb and hit it. So that's why we're proposing these. And as Director Harari said, we can still maintain the 10-foot. And it's, our feeling that we've done a lot of work on this monument, and the evidence is historically it's been hit and scraped, and we need to do something to protect it. And these bollards wouldn't be any higher on this north side than the wall. And on the one proposed on the south side wouldn't be any higher than the wall over there. It's about 42 inches. These are about 24 inches. And they would be, the idea is they would be natural, they could be natural ungalvanized steel which would match when they would rust, and then they would match this existing rusted kind of a grate railing that's around the front there. And then we would put some type of a reflective tape so that people would see them at night. And I mean, in a worst case scenario, yeah, somebody could run into them, but people are going to run into the monument, and that's what we're trying to prevent. The monument, unfortunately, is kind of in this awkward place in terms of traffic. When it was originally built, the median wasn't there. The grade on this side was higher on the south side. It was a different setup. And as you see here, we were able to, excavate, and for the first time since probably the 80s, the steps on the east side are open and you can see them. And they're really a key part of the whole monument. The concept of the monument was on the east side, there used to be a marble fountain right here that Charles Sumner Green designed, and I think he hand carved it. And so pedestrians would come up these steps and they would drink from the fountain. And then on the west side, it was a horse trough. And actually over here on the south west corner, there's a little dog watering bowl too. So it was really meant to be interacted with, but over time, the practicality, obviously horses aren't being used in Carmel anymore. This was turned into a planter. And sometime during the 60s, the city or somebody took off the bowl and it just disappeared into the mists of time. It is our intention at some point to try and replace that to complete this, the restoration. But because the stone is soft and people have, what the type of damage we found was people came up on it, they chipped the stones, they actually carved their initials into it, they stuck gum on it, there were anchors that were drilled into it. So we want to keep people off of it to preserve it. It's made out of a coastal sandstone. It's not Carmel shale stone. It is a sedimentary stone, which all sedimentary stones are pretty soft as opposed to metamorphic rock, which is compressed under heat. This is just sedimentary stone. And it's pretty soft, and obviously it showed a lot of its age since the restoration that took place in 1977 when a car ran into it and basically knocked down both columns. And Brian McEldowney rebuilt it at that time. And as to the question, the radical question, I like the way that was phrased, it's really not practical to replace the stones if they're hit. It was really a monumental undertaking. It took us literally years to find the stone and get it carved up. This stone that we used came out of a bridge in Santa Barbara. It's coastal sandstone, and they took down some bridge work for repair or whatever, and they had these large chunks of this coastal sandstone, and that's what was actually used. So this was quarried, I don't know how long ago. It could have been quarried, decades ago, but this broker that we got in touch with down there, he was able to find this stone, and it was a long hunt. I mean, we started on this project back in 2008, if you can believe that. And it took us all this time to get the stone and raise the money and put it all together. So it's really been a project, and we really, we couldn't have done it without Brian. Brian, it's just amazing what he did to those stones. They're not only cut, they're all bullnosed, and then he made this special chisel, and they're chiseled. Each stone is the whole surface is hand chiseled. It's really just a lot of work, as Bob said. So it's, we appreciate staff support on the lighting and the chain, and we just think that what we would like to see is the 3 bollards as proposed on the north side, and then a minimum of 1 bollard on the southeast corner to protect it from impact, and make sure that is set so that it doesn't encroach onto that 10-foot lane. So I don't have anything else to say. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Southwest corner?
Go ahead.
Michael, may I ask Mr. Hood if I can also contribute to the presentation as well this juncture, if that's appropriate?
Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So thank you for considering this proposal. So we as a community are very fortunate that we have as a major centerpiece of our downtown this beautiful monument designed by one of our country's best known architects, Charles Sumner Green, who chose Carmel-by-the-Sea as his home. And I know you all are aware of the tremendous influence Green and Green, the firm that he and his brother comprised, and the tremendous influence, not only on our own country, across the country, but really around the world. But there's something even more important at stake here, and that is that the people of Carmel-by-the-Sea built this monument as a demonstration of respect and gratitude for what the service members of our community did for our country during a time of profound crisis, World War I. So by maintaining and protecting this monument, we say to the world that we still honor and respect their service and their sacrifice. And although a century has passed, we still remember what they did for our country, for us. So I urge the city of Carmel-by-the-Sea to take action to help protect and preserve this powerful symbol of remembrance by approving these modest protective measures that we're proposing here today. The memorial is this interesting thing. It was built when they initiated construction on it at the end of 1921. And by the time they completed construction, that was during the time frame in which Ocean Avenue was paved. So, as Michael pointed out, the front planting area was originally a horse watering trough. That iron railing in front, which is original to the memorial, was there undoubtedly to keep horses from, rubbing up against the sandstone, I suppose. And so it really kind of straddles these two eras of the horse era and the automobile era. And the earliest known instance of when the automobile era became a problem for this monument was in 1925 when someone ran into the memorial and the driver paid the cost to repair the stones back then. And all the people who built the monument, of course, were around back then. But now, today, that kind of specialized labor is much harder to find. And as Mr. Harari and Michael pointed out, it's a big deal to make repairs on the monument. So it really is incumbent upon us as a community to take care of this monument, because it's more than just this beautiful structure. It really is this powerful symbol of remembrance and respect to the people from our community who served our country in World War I. And the way we protect our war memorials really says something about who we are as a community. So we really do need to take some important measures and some important steps to protect this monument. So that's the end of my little talk about that.
I have a quick question, Ian, maybe.
Sure.
You would know this, or Michael, do we know the path of travel that occurred when the major car accident happened? Was that in the 70s when Brian repaired it for the first time as a young man?
We sure do. We have a blow-by-blow police report that takes us, the path of destruction that 1960 Chevy Impala left on August 6, 1977. It came down Ocean Avenue. The driver realized she lost her brakes as she was crossing Guadalupe. The car begins to gather speed. According to the police report, she begins to strike things as a way of stopping. She tried to jam the transmission into park, could not. And at this point, I suppose she's completely panicking. She knocks over the stop sign at the bottom of Ocean Avenue. She clips the water tanker truck parked alongside Devendorf Park, and then smashes to the back of a city-owned pickup truck, knocks that pickup out of park, which then goes blasting out across the street. And then she careens and then smashes into the war memorial, essentially, completely obliterating the North Tower and basically knocking over the North Tower, the arch, only leaving really the South Tower intact. So
it was hit from the northeast corner.
It was correct. Yeah, the Impala struck the northeast corner of the memorial. So, and as we've seen from other damage on the memorial, the damage occurs on the north side and the south side of the monument. And I'm going to quickly go into presentation here, if you guys don't mind, and I'll show you something. Whoops, did I go into presentation mode? I did not. All right, hang on. Present now. Okay, good. So, all right, here's a picture of one of the Car Week events, and people are walking on it. But basically, a lot of the damage occurs right here along the path of travel, and you can see how chewed up these stones are, probably just from spalling from the weather. I guess this is not such a great photograph to illustrate my point. But the damage has occurred historically along the north side and the south side as cars graze it, nick it, and just generally bump into it. So that's why Michael did the analysis of where these Ballards should go. The Ballards are there to prevent the cars from clipping the memorial as they go by, to fend off the bad drivers, as somebody said. And yes, I appreciate that perhaps that incurs something of a liability for the city, but then again, we all need to take stock of the fact that this is a major piece of historically important architecture by an architect who on the national level has significance, truly on the international level has significance. And we need to reflect on how fortunate we are to have this monument as a centerpiece of our town, and just what a treasure it has. And this is a responsibility for all of us to protect and preserve. And then, of course, it's also an outward statement to the world about how we respect people who have served in the military by how we maintain and protect this war memorial. So perhaps there is some liability to be incurred here, I don't know, by installing these Ballards, but it's my hope as a citizen of Carmel-by-the-Sea that the city will recognize the importance of this memorial as a symbol of remembrance for military service and as the architectural treasure for what it is, to take something of a risk, or at least consider those factors when it comes to taking measures to protect it.
Ian, thank you for your commitment to this project, and Michael as well. And I certainly hear your passion about that and some very salient points about the significance. Silly question, did the poor woman survive this wreck?
She did. She's taken to Chomp, patched up, and yeah, thank you for asking that question. This is a very human question. She was fine. The Impala was totaled, and so was the truck that she ran into, the pickup truck at the back of Devendorf Park, the side of Devendorf Park.
As long as we're still in the public hearing here, I think in the interest of expediency, I would just direct this question to Bob Harari. If bollards are placed that maintains that 10-foot right-of-way, wouldn't the city still be exposed to liability whether someone hit the monument or hit a bollard?
That's a great question. I would imagine that if they hit anything that's city-owned, which is including the monument, then yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from
I
the?
have a question.
Please, yeah.
I think this, as Ian put it and as Michael put it too, This is really one of Carmel's finest historical objects, resources. And I just had a question of either of you. Would the, if we had the protection that you're proposing today in 1977 or back in 1925, do you feel that the accident, would the monument have been as well protected with these kinds of ideas then?
So I'll field this one. So Catherine, in 1925, the pine cone says that someone backed into the monument. So I would say yes. In 1977, nothing was going to save it. That was nuts. And the person was going very fast. But the Ballards would protect the monument from pretty much any other form of vehicle, clipping, grazing, scraping going on. But yeah, most incidences of vehicular damage, these Ballards would protect the memorial.
Okay. Here's another. I have one more question. Is the rock berm little wall that is used for drainage on the north side of the monument, is that part of the original or is that a city addition? Mr. Harari, do you?
Yeah, that was a city addition. I don't know at what point in time, but yes, that's a city item.
Correct.
Okay.
That's a city addition. The granite, those golden granite retaining walls that go alongside the medians there, those were added. I'm still trying to figure out when. I think sometime in the 1940s, maybe, but they are not original to the memorial.
Okay, thank you.
I had just another discussion item regarding the proximity of where you place the bollards against the wall. In the drawings and at least in the images, it looks like they're basically just right up against the walls. And so my question is, if even a vehicle moving not too fast, but at some speed, if it hit that, that's gonna hit the bollard, and the bollard's gonna hit the wall. So I guess that's just a concern I have, and wondered whether you had given it much thought.
Well, can I just comment on that real quick, Eric?
Sure.
We're limited by space, and we needed to maintain this 10 foot. And we took the most conservative approach to that. So we measured from the edge of the lane marker to the monument. And on the north side, it's about 10 foot 4.5. So if you install a 3-inch bollard, you could have potentially, 1.5 inches. Now, the bollards are obviously not meant to, they're not going to protect the monument from really high speed crashes, but that's a stop sign right there. Cars are coming up slowly. They're starting to slow up for the stop sign, and they slow up. So the main thing the bollards are really going to do is protect it from light impacts and scraping. And that's the kind of damage that we saw on the stones that were there that we took out. So, what happened in 1977, as Ian said, that was a freak accident. There's nothing that's going to protect it from that kind of an impact. God forbid that would ever happen again. Somebody could have been killed, but they weren't, luckily. So, we're just trying to suggest something here that it isn't going to cause a traffic problem. It maintains the 10 foot. It provides a certain level of protection. Obviously, it's not going to do everything, but these would address, the types of damage that we saw there for the most part since 1977. It was pretty much light impacts and scraping.
I guess my instinct, because it's not only the north-south dimension where we're talking about the width, but also the east-west. And my instinct is to see those bollards pulled a little bit, farther, maybe east, so they're not right up against the corner, but provide some space so that if someone hit that, you would obviously see it. And if it was hit, it would be well before any vehicle would have gotten to the monument itself. So it's kind of a tricky little thing, but I'm just wondering whether all those options were thought of. And I think what Mr. Harari was talking about on the, I guess it'd be the southwest side, is having it maybe moved slightly more to the north to provide the necessary width, but a little bit farther to the west so that people can really see it and you can see that as a protected corner.
We're open to doing what's going to give it the best protection. You know, the thing that we are trying to get agreement on is that on the north side, the bollards need to be beyond the edge so that they provide some prevention of the scraping. You know, now if the east bollard, the northeast bollard needs to be moved back a little bit to give better protection, we're totally open to that. The same thing on the southeast side, if that bollard is pulled back a little. It seems to us that with the direction of the traffic on each side, you know, the forward momentum of the traffic, in other words, on the south side, the traffic's traveling east. Yes, it started traveling east, and on the north side is traveling west. So it needs bollards on the respective corners to protect it. But there is an opportunity, we feel, to put some bollards along the side, maybe one in the middle there, and that will help with vehicles scraping the side of it. So but as far as, you know, exactly with the distance and stuff, we're totally open to that. We only have so much space to place one on the side, on the north side. So it would be probably about an inch or an inch and a half from the inside edge of the bollard to the stone on the monument.
And do you and Ian have thoughts about the other suggestion of placing more bollards on the west side? I mean, it seems to me that's people turning from San Carlos onto Ocean Avenue. There's a possibility that someone could have a problem and lose control and hit it from the front, and there's nothing protecting it on that side.
Yeah, I mean, it's a safety aesthetic issue. I mean, I guess, you know, being a planning commissioner, I'm always in Carmel. It's always, you know, less is more.
Yeah,
but we want to protect it.
I just see that as a vulnerability. That's all.
We don't want to put a whole bunch of things all around because it's
we can put a big cage over it. But.
Well, anything we put there, it interrupts the flow of the monument. And the thing about this monument, when you spend time with it, it is an amazing object. I mean, there was so much thought put in it. It has this stone that's pulled out like 3 inches around the whole base. It's like a pedestal. And the thing just rises off of that, and when we unearthed the eastern side, I mean, it literally blew our minds to stand back, after because we cut the trees down, then we had to dig out those stumps by hand. It took 3 days of hand labor. And then we dug it out, and we were just like a mess. We were dirty, sweating, covered with dirt. And at the end of the day, we stepped back and looked at it. It was like, we'd unearthed, just this amazing thing. So it just has this presence to it. And we certainly don't want to suggest putting a bunch of stuff around it to, like you said, a cage over it. Yeah, we could put a massive cage over it, but, we're going to destroy the visual impact.
Well, Michael, I appreciate after 3 years that you still have enthusiasm for the project.
Yeah, well, it's that kind of object. It's amazing. The more you're involved with it, the more value you place in it, and it gives back. That's the thing about it. You're architects. That's what architecture does. Architecture has a presence. You interact with it. That's why architecture is even important. We could all live in a box, but we don't. We design a box that inspires us. And this is a monument that inspires us. So anyway.
I would have
Eric, go ahead.
I would just have you entertain one idea is that, for me at least, I think one of the nice things about providing the bollards in the front is there's something to be said about having some space, even architecturally, to appreciate the object, rather than having the new objects put right up against the historic artifact.
We're totally open to that.
Yeah.
We're totally open to that.
And Eric, I appreciate those concerns because this is a balance we are striking between installing these protective measures without disrupting the beauty of the memorial. So careful placement of these ballards is important, and also including the chain, the chain on the east side too. It is that balance we need to strike to protect the memorial while at the same time respecting its beauty.
And can we talk?
Let's not forget with a reflector or some kind of reflective tape on the westbound lane, bollards are warning signs, right? And if that bollard is even placed, a foot away from that corner, you're going to see that whether it's raining, light or dark out. There's a reflector there. It's reminding you don't get too close.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything about the lighting?
Board member, I'm sorry, Chair Hood, you may want to close the public hearing so the board members can discuss the item.
I have one more. I just wanted to ask some more questions.
Go ahead.
And the reason I think it's good to have the public hearing open now is because we're trying to get input from Michael and Ian and Mr. Harari. And the one question I had also was just your thoughts on the lighting. And my understanding is you're basically replacing what's there, and that was the intention.
Yes.
There was some lighting there, some type of uplighting. We actually had, the designer, somebody help me out with her name right now. Who's?
Meredith.
Meredith Knoll. She actually did a design and came up with some lights, but they attached to the monument. She wanted to kind of have the light up closer so it kind of grazed the stone more, but we don't want to attach anything to the monument. So the type of uplighting that she put on the trees in there, that's what we're proposing. And it would just be on some stakes as close to the corners as possible. And, we want to get this we just want to kind of uplight the columns. So
It doesn't look like they're on the corners, though, from the lighting.
well, that's what's being proposed. It would be on each, outside corner on the two columns. So four fixtures, so two in each planter box, and they'd be right at the corners. Not attached to the monument. We would bring in the electrical and some conduit. And previously, it'd been drilled right through the side of the planter box and planter area and stone. And so we're going to drill it down below grade and then come up that way. You won't see any of it.
If there are any other questions at this point, I want to take it back to the board so you have the chance for everyone to make some comments. Is there anybody out there listening in that has a question? Ian?
No, I'm sorry. I'm gesturing to my daughter to close the door.
All right. We can always reopen up the public hearing, but let's close the public hearing for now. I want to bring it back to the board for any more specific question for these gentlemen. Who would care to start?
I could continue on to what I was kind of talking about.
Sure. Go ahead, Eric.
But, since we now have a closed public hearing, I wanted to just again give our appreciation and thank yous to the Friends of the Arch and Michael and Ian especially, and Brian, who did the work. It's really spectacular. It's such a wonderful contribution to our town. I mean, before this was done, you really didn't even see it. Having Forest and Beach allow us to take down those trees, so now you can see it from all these different angles. Plus the restoration is really back to its former glory, and it's just really wonderful to see. So thank you. Going back to the lighting, I guess I had a question about, since it was just shown on the sides in the lighting plan, and there are fairly two lights close together on each side, whether the light, I think there's room in the back, for example, to have it lit from a planter in the back, or from maybe the soil near the monument as a possibility. That's just, I just didn't know if the lighting was fully considered, and maybe it should be in a really careful way. So, and then my other comment would be about, I guess what I was implying before about creating a space for the bollards around the monument. I appreciate the fact that it can get scraped. I think on, allowing one bollard close to in the middle on the north side against the stone probably makes sense for the protection. But maybe on the corners, if we pull them away a little bit east and west to, so that the cars, if they hit them, they'll be a little bit farther from the corner. There also will be noticeable sooner in terms of how far the cars are from the corner of the monument. So I think that would be helpful. I think, what Mr. Harari was talking about on the south side, you know, as long as we can protect the southeast corner, I think that's important, is we can have one piece that's a little bit away from the corner, you know, maintaining the 10 feet. If we can get that, that'd really be a good thing. And then I'm open to the idea of having a couple more bottles in the front. I can imagine some freak accident where someone turns too sharply and there's, you know, having something to protect it and keeping, there's quite a lot of space out there. So I think there's an opportunity to keep it fair, you know, a space where pedestrians can walk between the monument and the bollards perhaps, and still have that protection from vehicles.
All good points. Catherine?
Yes, I support what Eric has just said. And also it's wonderful to hear you, Eric, because for so many meetings, you had to be so quiet and wait for all of us to give our comments. And here you've been able to articulate what I'm sure a lot of us have been thinking. So I would support what you're saying. I think the main goal is to protect this valuable resource. And I also acknowledge the work that Ian and Michael have done, and their group, Brian, as well. This is one of the most important landmarks I think in Carmel, and it's a testament to Mr. Green's work and life. So we have to do everything we can to keep it the way you put it back together again. So with that, I'll turn it over to Carol if she wants to say something.
Sure. I rescind my comment about not doing anything, my radical comment. And I do agree with Eric and Catherine as well, and thank you for your work. I think I also agree with Michael that, you know, we don't want to cover the whole thing in bollards and detract from the monument itself. So I think that's a good consideration as well in making decisions on where they go and how many of them and so forth. Thank you.
Okay. Jordan is not with us today, correct? Is he out there? Jordan's not here. All right, I'll follow up with a couple of things. Thank you, board members, for your comments, and Eric for jumping in here. Couple of things that I would think of, and I agree with the statements made by Ian and by Michael for the project, and for Eric's suggestion about bollard placement. Precise location, we can make a recommendation, I believe, through a motion to the Planning Commission for those. My one thing that kind of strikes me with regards to the lighting design is the front of the monument right now facing west has a dirt planter, where I was curious as to why the lighting designer didn't possibly consider putting lights in the front as opposed to on the side of the monument that would graze and basically really emphasize the rustication that you see on that stonework. There are products available of similar nature to the landscape lighting that actually could offer not only beam control and very focused, but you can bring the lights very, very close to the monument without hot spots. And there are products out there that also allow you to control the color temperature, because that's something to consider on this monument, from 2,700 to 3,000 Kelvin. You can also control the wattage, so you can dial it down to 25 watts and create the right color temperature. The product that was specified does not have that kind of flexibility, so I would favor some consideration on the part of the applicant to possibly consider relocating the lights and looking at another manufacturer that I think could more precisely fine-tune the beauty of that monument as viewed from the front, and it actually would light the bell as well. Just a couple of things I'm just kind of curious about, and I can open this back up to public hearing, is there any stone left over? Michael?
Yes, yeah, there's stone left over. There's not a lot. We have about a pallet and a half.
That's
And actually, Brian has stone left over that he had from 1977, that restoration.
Thank God.
He had some stone. But what we want to do is box that up and then label it and then give it to the city for safekeeping. You know, that's our intent, because obviously we're only going to be here for a short time, and there's going to be, you know, people in the future generations are going to have to take care of this. And yeah, so we have some stone left over, but some, the base stones are really big, and those are the hard ones to find. The ones in the columns are smaller, so the base stones were real challenging.
Good, thank you. Two other questions. How is your funding? Do you have funds to do this project, or are you still seeking funding?
We're short.
How much?
We always need money. I don't know. I'm not the treasurer. Last I heard, we got about $3,000 left. I don't know.
Okay. Is there some?
We don't have a lot of money. We need to do some more fundraising because we're going to need more money to do this work. I mean, we've donated all the labor. I mean, Brian. He put hundreds of hours in there.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you can't overstate how much time he put into this. And but we'll get it done. We've worked on this since 2008. I mean, we are doggedly determined to do stuff.
Well, my longest project I worked on up in Marin, it was 5 years from the start, but it was only a house and it wasn't historic. So I sympathize with the time frame. Well, that kind of answers my last question, which would be schedule. Obviously, schedule is contingent, not so much on the public process here, but getting the rest of your funding together. Do you have some?
Well, if we get approval for the lighting, and let me just say on the lighting, we are open to you giving direction that we work with staff to come up with some alternatives, because I think your comments were very good about how it could be lit, and we really kind of took the path of least resistance. We figured you got this kind of light here in the median. We didn't want, and it's not attached to it's not a fixture you have to attach to the monument, which we didn't want to do. But your points about the warmth of the light, the wattage, and all that, and also the west would be a very good opportunity because it faces the intersection. That should obviously be lit up, and probably what needs to happen is get an appropriate fixture out there, and then do a little trial and error. And that's one of the things that I really like about this whole review process is we get the opportunity to hear all your opinions and make this better. I mean, I think that's what we want to see. We want the community's involvement. We want their expertise, their suggestions. And so this really is a community project. And this monument's always been a community project. That's what it was from day one. So,
well, within the guidelines that board members have to work within. I appreciate your saying that you're open to suggestions, and if that's something that you want to explore with proper authority and Marnie's blessing, there's a lighting element there that I think could merit some improvement that would result in really spectacular results. And I'm only speaking on that as a result of having recently specified the same fixture you have on your drawings, only to, with further research, be informed about a similar product that really did exactly what I believe the intent is of the lighting. And it was for a project we just are finishing out in Carmel Valley, just from direct experience. So that's something we can take up, I guess, as a part of a motion or a continuance. Marnie, I want to bring this back to you and just ask, based on our open discussion here, how are our options? How do they lay out, given that what Michael has just said?
Well, I think there's been some great discussion this afternoon, and the board certainly could entertain a motion with your recommendations. Staff will work with the applicant and take those recommendations forward to the Planning Commission.
Okay. If there are any other comments from the board here, is anyone prepared to make a motion to that effect based on what I just said? Catherine.
I know this is a little off topic, but when you consider the fact that this monument will be 100 years old in 2022, has anyone given any consideration, since we are a certified local government as a city, and we have some direct responsibilities to the state of California's Office of Historic Preservation? One of the most important programs that the state they don't fund, but they certainly have an interest in, is the State Historical Landmarks Program, which is a very, very old program that's been going on for as long as this monument. And with that recognition, you have opportunities to put into the public's mind that this is just more than a Carmel landmark, but this is something that is important for Charles Sumner Green's legacy and also for architecture in general in California. And I don't know if it would qualify, if it meets the criteria, but my sense is that it has a good chance of being recognized by the state, which also brings in some type of a bronze plaque that is the native sons of the Golden West often pay for these plaques. And when we were looking at the Forest Theater years ago to see if that might qualify as a state historical landmark, I received a call from the native sons in this area in Monterey County offering to help us support an effort to designate this as a state landmark. So they don't know about the monument, but they are certainly eager to work with communities to recognize those kinds of resources that all of us want to share with others. So, I mean, it's just a thought is you're obviously going to do something in 2022 to celebrate this big occasion that you've worked so hard to put together. And I've been involved in many historical landmark dedications, and it brings out the whole community and shows really an appreciation for what you've already done and brings Charles Sumner Green, his importance to Carmel back in people's minds. So it's just a thought as for future planning. But if that appeals to your group in any way, Michael and Ian, that could be something that you could pursue, and I'd be happy to help you.
That's excellent. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine.
Marnie, is this something, given that this has all been done by volunteer work, applying for that landmark status, is that something that this group individually should pursue, or is the city allowed, or could they potentially, the city, be part of this process?
That's something we can certainly look into and see what role we might be able to play to assist in that effort.
Okay. Catherine, we may have a project for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Is anyone on the board prepared to make a motion based on our discussion here today?
I could do it, I guess.
Give it a shot.
Okay, I will. The motion would be to recommend to the Planning Commission that the World War I Memorial Arch be protected by bollards made from ungalvanized steel filled with concrete and be well lit, and encourage the applicant to further explore the exact location of those bollards, providing perhaps more space if possible from the monument itself, and to explore lighting options that will make the most of the memorial at night and leave it general like that. So
is there a second?
I second it.
Would anybody recommend more specificity, or is that, I think that's
I'm gonna mention too, you mentioned the word galvanized, it would be non-galvanized.
non-galvanized, I meant, yeah.
Right.
And there also is an oxidation process that you could turn those to a rust color upon installation.
Mr. Chairman, was the chain, the post and chain on the east side, was that part of the motion? I didn't catch that.
I did not make that part of the motion, but I can. So I support a minimal post and chain of the same material across the east side of the monument to protect people from walking on it.
Okay. Any further discussion from board members on this? With that, I'll call for a vote. Margie?
Yes, sorry about that. Eric Dyer,
Yes?
Catherine Galtieri,
Yes,
Carol Hall,
Yes.
Thomas Hood.
Yes,
Okay.
motion carries. Gentlemen, thank you so much for all the time you put into it. It's a really, we're lucky to be in a community with people that put in this kind of time and really respect history. And I agree with Catherine. I think it's one of our most significant structures in town, and its importance really needs to be brought forth. And I would love to see you be able to get enough funding that next year at the 100th anniversary, it's all wrapped up and we can have a presentation at that point without masks.
Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate all your input on this.
Thank you so much for all your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Airy, thank you for attending.
Oh, my pleasure.
Appreciate your help. All right. With that, we'll move on to the director's report. Marnie, do you have some news for us? Good news? Bad news?
Well, just seeing that this is our first meeting of 2021, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. Also, just wanted to let the board know that earlier today, our outdoor dining program has resumed. So please visit your local restaurant, order a meal. It is a little bit cold out there, but I know we have a lot of happy restaurateurs who are back open for business. So that's a little bit of good news. And we had planned to take this World War I memorial project forward to Planning Commission in February. Staff would just like an opportunity to kind of meet with the applicant regarding the board's recommendation. And if we need a little bit more time, we might defer that to the March meeting. So other than that, that is all I have. And I want to give Brandon an opportunity. Is there anything you want to add?
No, Marnie, thank you, other than just again to say thanks to everybody for the nice welcome, and I'm looking forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Good.
Brandon, welcome aboard. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
good to
Love
have
the
you.
opportunity to hear more of your experience and recommendations. You know, we're all volunteering here, and as I remind myself, the historic process is obviously to protect the buildings. It's also to inform people, educate, but it is a service. We're here to serve the public and all applicants. And any suggestions you might have on how we can, be consistent, fair, and timely, I'm all ears.
Thanks, Thomas. That's great. And in groups like this, I just, you hit it right on the head. It's just, I can't even begin to express the appreciation for the time that you all put into this of your own free will, because you love what you're doing and you really love this area. And I think it's really commendable. So thank you to all of you for that.
We don't always agree, but we don't have drama. But
No.
we do have strong opinions, right, Catherine? It's good.
Correct.
Yeah, it's good. All right. With that, let's see. Any subcommittee reports? I guess, Marnie, I know we're going to circle back on our context statement, which is happily waiting dormant here for about 10 months. Anything on that?
Nothing new to report. Just it's still part of our work program. Certainly anxious to get that started again and really wrap it up. So stay tuned.
Is there an update on the CLG recertification or we talked about doing a few things to keep us in good standing with that?
Yeah, so I was able to make contact with the state with Catherine's help. So thank you for that. They had indicated there's no value in kind of going back and submitting past reports, which we certainly were happy to do. They just encouraged us to kind of get back on track and submit those reports timely going forward. So we certainly are keeping an eye out for that, and we'll do so.
Is there a deadline for this year's submission, or is that do we have a whole year to procrastinate? No, I'm kidding.
Eric, I'm not hearing. What is this item referring to? I couldn't hear you.
The CLG Certified Local Government Program that allows us opportunities for grants, and that's mainly its purpose, I believe. But we had talked previously of possibly using that as a way to get a grant to wrap up the context statement in a more complete way. So that's just a thought. But I don't know when we're actually supposed to.
Yeah, is there a deadline for that?
So the state will send out the annual reports via email. So the first kind of hurdle was getting on that email list, which we have successfully done. So we're just waiting for the annual report to be released. And then we will put that together. We will bring it before the board for your review as well. And then we will submit it to the state. And I'm hoping that in doing so, we can be competitive for a grant for this year towards our context statement. That's the plan.
Okay. I just had a couple of questions. Future agenda items, special meeting. What's special about February 22nd?
So it's not our regular meeting date because of the holiday.
Okay.
So we refer to it as a special meeting. We'll be meeting on the 4th Monday again in February.
I'll just ask for the rest of the board here. Does that date work for everybody? We know if we can have a quorum.
Yes.
Okay. My last question is a little off topic, but it is a significant structure in town. Is there any new news to report about Flanders?
I have no new news on Flanders.
No new news. Okay. Keep us posted.
Will do.
All right. Very good. Any other questions or comments from the board? Otherwise, I think we're going to wrap this meeting up.
Okay.
No? Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Thomas.
It was a good discussion. Lots of folks. Appreciate
Good
it.
first meeting, Thomas.
Thank you.
Good job.
I'll start with one of these days. Thank you, Renee, and Brandon. It's a pleasure to meet you. The meeting is adjourned.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.